Don't compare yourself with other people. Compare yourself with who you were yesterday. No one gets away with anything, ever, so take responsibility for your own life. Music has an intrinsic meaning, which has always been mysterious to me. Don't lie about anything, ever. Lying leads to hell. It is more difficult to rule yourself than to rule a city. If you don't stand your ground, then all that happens is people push you backwards. If you learn a martial art, you learn to be dangerous, but simultaneously, you learn to control it. Men and women aren't the same, and they won't be the same. That doesn't mean that they can't be treated fairly. Free speech is not just another value, it's the foundation of Western civilization. You should do what other people do, unless you have a very good reason not to. You have to listen very carefully and tell the truth if you are going to get a paranoid person to open up to you. The masculine spirit is under assault. It's obvious. It's very hard to find your own words, and you don't actually exist until you have your own words. I happen to be a big fan of Western civilization. I think it beats the hell out of tyranny and starvation. It's very difficult to regulate yourself, and if you learn to do that, well, it starts to spill over. The idea that women were oppressed throughout history is an appalling theory. To master a new technology, you have to play with it. Accept the terrible responsibility of life with eyes wide open. Life is tragic. You are tiny and flawed and ignorant and weak, and everything else is huge, complex, and overwhelming. We have to rediscover the eternal values and then live them out. Assuming if there's such a thing as reality, if you have a false relationship with it, how can you do anything but fail? It's not just human nature to associate in tribes, it's deeper than that. It's not proper for the government to intrude too thoroughly into the domain of the family. It's inappropriate. People have this capacity within them to set the world straight. The literature associating inequality with social instability and poor health outcomes is pretty convincing. The narrow bandwidth of TV has made us think that we are stupider than we are. I don't really regard myself as a political figure. Whether or not I like a piece of data has very little bearing on whether or not I am likely to accept it. All things considered, there's nobody better for children than parents. In the West, we have been withdrawing from our tradition, religion, and even nation-centered cultures. My publication record puts me in the top 0.5% of psychologists. It makes sense that a witch lives in a swamp. I'm always surprised when people respond positively to what I am saying, given its seriousness and strange nature. I'm interested in what motivates individuals to participate in atrocious acts to support their ideological identification. If you're a social scientist worth your salt, you never do a univariate analysis. There's no doubt that inequality destabilizes societies. I think the social science evidence on that front is crystal clear. The multiplication force of technology on cognitive differences is massive. I am not going to be a mouthpiece for language that I detest. I do believe that there are places where the mythological and the literal touch. I like working-class people, generally speaking. I'm a practical person. I'm not too bad a carpenter. I can renovate houses.